There is a moment, right before two people fall in love, when everything gets quiet. Not because nothing is happening, but because too much is happening at once. If you have ever felt yourself pulling back from someone, the second things started to feel real. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I am about to describe might be the most accurate mirror you have ever looked into. This is not a video about romance. This is a video about fear wearing the costume of romance. And if you watch until the end, you are going to understand something about yourself that most people spend years avoiding. Welcome back to Psychotherapy. If this is your first time here, this channel exists for one reason only: to help you understand the quiet psychological patterns running underneath your relationships, the ones nobody ever taught you to notice. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you are about to hear in the next 10 minutes is going to change how you read every relationship in your life, including the one you might be sitting in right now. Okay, let's talk about the two people who are already in love, but too afraid to admit it. Here is the strange truth about fear and love: they do not cancel each other out. They actually grow in the same soil. The deeper the connection, the louder the fear gets, because the brain does not separate emotional risk from physical danger. When you feel yourself falling for someone, some old part of your nervous system starts treating it like a threat. Not because the person is dangerous, but because losing them would hurt in a way nothing else can. So instead of running toward love, two people who feel it start performing a quiet, invisible dance of almost saying it, almost reaching for the hand, almost staying the extra hour. And if you have ever been in that almost, you already know exactly what I am talking about. Sign number 1 is the way silence between you stops feeling empty. Most silences with most people feel like something needs to be filled. You reach for small talk, you check your phone, you look for an exit. But there is a specific kind of silence that happens with someone you are falling for, where either of you speaks for a long stretch of time, and instead of discomfort, there is this strange, settled peace. Psychologists call this comfortable silence a marker of deep attachment safety. Your nervous system only relaxes into wordless space with people it does not feel the need to perform for. If you have sat in a room with someone, said nothing for 10 minutes, and felt closer to them afterward instead of awkward, that is not nothing. That is your body telling you something your mind has not caught up to yet. Sign number 2 is over-explaining your feelings the moment they start to show. Have you ever caught yourself saying something warm to someone, and then immediately following it with a joke, a disclaimer, or a quick change of subject? That is fear doing damage control in real time. When people are afraid of how much they feel, they soften the moment before the other person can respond to it. It sounds like saying, "I really enjoyed today." Not in like a weird way or anything. Just, it was nice. When what you actually meant was that it was one of the best days you have had in a long time. This over-explaining is a form of emotional self-sabotage, and it usually happens on both sides at once. Two people, both walking back their own sincerity, both wondering why the other one keeps doing the same thing. Sign number 3 is remembering details either of you asked the other to remember. This is one of the clearest, most underrated signs of buried love. Somebody mentions once, in passing, that they had a rough childhood memory involving a certain song, or that they hate a certain vegetable, or that their favorite color changed after a specific year of their life. Weeks later, that detail comes back. Not because it was written down anywhere, but because the brain files away information more carefully when it is emotionally invested in the person delivering it. Memory is not neutral. We forget almost everything people tell us, unless our nervous system has quietly decided this person matters. If you find yourself recalling tiny, forgettable things about someone without even trying, that is not coincidence. That is your subconscious mind already treating them as significant, long before your conscious mind is ready to admit it. Sign number 4 is the specific anxiety that shows up around them. The kind that does not feel like danger, but still speeds up your heart. This is one of the most confusing parts of falling for someone while being afraid of it. You feel nervous before you see them. Your palms get warm. You rehearse conversations in your head that you will probably never have. And you tell yourself this must mean something is wrong, or that you are not ready, or that this connection is somehow unstable. But nervous system arousal does not always mean threat. Excitement and fear physiologically feel almost identical in the body. Same racing heart, same shallow breath, same heightened alertness. The only difference is the story your mind attaches to it. Two people who are falling for each other, but afraid of it, will often mistake the thrill of real connection for a warning sign, when it is actually the opposite. It is your body waking up. Sign number 5 is protecting each other without being asked to. This one is subtle, and it usually happens before either person would call the relationship anything at all. It looks like walking on the outside of the sidewalk without thinking about it. Or texting, "Let me know when you're home safe." Or quietly noticing when the other person seems off and asking if they are okay before anyone else does. Protective instinct is one of the oldest attachment behaviors we have as humans, and it activates long before the label of a relationship ever gets used. If you find yourself instinctively looking out for someone's comfort, safety, or feelings in ways that go beyond simple friendliness, some part of you has already decided this person is worth protecting. That decision is not made lightly by the nervous system. It is one of the earliest, quietest confessions of love that exists. Sign number 6 is the fear of being the one who feels more. This is where things get painful, because this fear is the one that keeps most almost relationships stuck in place for months, sometimes years. Both people are terrified of being the one who cares more, the one who gets hurt worse, the one who has to live with unreturned feelings. So instead of ever finding out the truth, both people hedge. They keep things light. They joke instead of confess. They wait for the other person to go first. This creates a strange standoff, where two people who are both quietly falling refuse to move, simply because either wants to risk being the more invested one. If you have ever held back the words, "I like you," specifically because you were scared the other person did not feel the same, you already understand this sign intimately. The tragic irony is that most of the time, the other person is holding back the exact same words, for the exact same reason. Sign number 7 is imagining a future with them, and then immediately shutting the thought down. This happens fast, almost too fast to notice. A daydream slips in, maybe about a trip you would take together, or what their laugh would sound like at your birthday next year, or simply what it would feel like to wake up next to them on an ordinary Tuesday. And then, just as quickly, a mental door slams shut. You tell yourself not to get ahead of things. You remind yourself this is not real yet. But the mind does not build detailed future scenarios about people it does not care about. That kind of imagination is reserved for connections your subconscious has already flagged as important. Shutting it down does not mean the feeling is not real. It usually means the feeling is real enough to scare you. Sign number 8, the final one, is the fear of losing them, even before you have technically had them. This is the deepest sign, and it is usually the one people are most embarrassed to admit. You have not called each other anything. There has been no official conversation. And yet, the idea of this person disappearing from your life creates a genuine ache. That ache is your nervous system responding to attachment, not to a title. Titles are just labels human beings invented to organize relationships socially. Attachment does not care about labels. It forms the moment two people begin to matter to each other, whether or not either of them has said it out loud. If the thought of losing someone you have not even officially been with keeps you up at night, that is not overreacting. That is your heart being honest before your mouth has caught up. So here is the real question underneath all 8 of these signs. If two people are clearly falling for each other, why does the fear stay in charge for so long? The answer usually traces back to something earlier than this relationship entirely. Maybe an earlier heartbreak taught you that vulnerability gets punished. Maybe you learned somewhere along the way that saying your feelings first means handing someone power over you. Maybe you watched people you love get hurt by love, and some part of you decided the safest way to protect your heart was to never fully open it. None of that makes you broken. It makes you human, shaped by experience, doing your best to protect something precious using the only tools you were ever given. But here is the part worth sitting with. Fear and love cannot actually share the driver's seat forever. Eventually, one of them has to lead. And the two people who recognize these 8 signs in each other, who finally stop performing almost and start choosing honesty instead, are usually the ones who end up with the kind of love that lasts. Not because the fear disappeared, but because they decided the connection mattered more than the risk. If you recognized even one of these 8 signs in your own life, right now, today, I want you to do something simple. Type the number of the sign that hit you the hardest in the comments below. Just the number. You would be amazed how many people are quietly going through the exact same thing you are at this exact moment. And your comment might be the thing that helps someone else feel less alone tonight. And if this video described a person you are thinking about right now, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with them, or share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let a video say the words you have been too afraid to say yourself. Before you go, subscribe to Psychotherapy if you have not already. Because next week we are going deeper into why the people who are hardest to fall for are so often the ones we fall for the hardest, and I promise you, that video is going to hit even closer to home than this one did. Thank you for spending these minutes with me today. Wherever you are watching this from, I hope tonight, whether it is with someone or with yourself, you choose honesty over fear. Just a little bit more than yesterday. I will see you in the next one.